already. So today's date. 14th. Okay. I'd like to call this Bristol Borough Council work session and regular public meeting to order. And let's remember all of those who passed away during the month. And let's also remember that today is Christopher Columbus Day. Please salute the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Dillon, you want to do roll call, please?
Yes, Mr. Pezza.
Here.
Ms. Cohen.
Here.
Ms. Rodriguez is not feeling well. Mr. Cousins.
Here.
Ms. Figueroa.
Here.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Petrosi.
Here.
Mr. DiGiuseppe.
Here. So just so you know, Betty's been calling. She has sciatica and she can hardly get around. She hasn't even been in work since last week. So she wanted everybody to know why she's not here this evening. So I know we got a packed house and we got people waiting out in the hallway, and the reason we were delayed, we had a problem with our feed, the Comcast feed, I think, that was coming into the building, and now hopefully has been resolved. So I know before I open up public participation, I like to read a statement. I don't know who's here for what, but before we get started. So before we get started with public comment, I just want to clear the air for anyone that has any questions regarding the political signs placed throughout town. First and foremost, these signs were not purchased or installed by this borough council. And let me repeat myself. They were not purchased or installed by this borough council. I have been in contact many times via email, phone calls, or texts. And before anyone asks any questions, I wanted to make that clear. Secondly, the people on this council and the residents of Bristol Borough have the right to support and freely choose who they want to get behind in any election. That's the beautiful thing about living in America. We have that freedoms. The other two things I want to mention before we get to public participation regarding the signs is we do not have the authority to police political signs. There is a Board of Election who handles political rules and regulations. And it is not this borough council. Everybody understand, it's not this borough council. We do not control what person or committee pays for them, purchases them, installs them, or whether they are in compliance. And on another note, a personal note, I have always supported individuals who support this borough. That's how I stand on this whole thing and council. So hopefully that puts a lot of things to rest about these signs. We're getting a lot of phone calls, the manager's getting phone calls, but I thought that needed to be read this evening before we start public participation. So, yes. So we're going to do a couple proclamations before we get started. First of all, we have Historic Bristol Day here, so if you want to come up and receive a proclamation from the mayor.
Hello, Mary. So we have a proclamation from myself and the council honoring the 48th annual Bristol Day, along with a check in the amount of $1,000 to support your endeavors. Real quick, while Mary's up here, for those of you that attended our Lafayette celebration, you know that Mary does things first class along with the Bristol Historical Foundation, because the Lafayette celebration was absolutely incredible. the parade that came down Ratcliffe Street, to the reenactor, to everything that surrounded that celebration, including the dedication of the Lafayette street signs that'll be in our town forever. We thank you for everything you do. And on our behalf, here's the proclamation and a check for $1,000.
What to expect? How about I do it from there?
Absolutely.
I noticed you grabbed the check before you went to the podium.
I wanted to make sure we had that first. Thank you so much. I want to let you know that that Lafayette celebration was from the community and from our committee, and we appreciated all the borough's support. So I just want to give you a couple of highlights about our 48th annual Bristol Day. We are going to kick things off at 9 o'clock this year with the formal unveiling of the 100th anniversary of the Bracken Cadet mural and the final performance of the alumni Bracken Corps. We will have our car show over at the Snyder Girardi School. We'll have our bakery table, our food court, and our vendors and crafters on the 200 and 300 blocks of Ratcliffe Street. We will have our house and garden tours, and the ticket this year is $20, and we have had the most houses that we've ever had. We have 7 houses going to be open and 1 garden. And the tickets can be purchased at the ticket office, tax office, Mignoni Jewelers, Bird of Paradise, or the Mill Street Pharmacy. We'll have entertainment going on all day at the riverfront and all kinds of children's activities at the Grundy Library. We'll have the student art display. We're continuing our Lafayette theme. We'll have 3 Lafayette puppet shows there, and our students from the Snyder Girardi School will be doing Bristol's Finest Wax Museum on the back lawn. We will have the students from St. Mark's 4th grade doing a Lafayette play, and we will also have our Snyder Girardi 5th graders sharing their research on Lafayette. So you don't want to miss out on that. Also, our public buildings will be open. Just to mention a few, our Bristol Fire Company, Station 51, will be open for tours. Our Activities Center, the Bristol Borough Activities Center, Municipal Building will be open. People can come in and see the arch, the 200-year-old arch that Mr. Dillon allowed us to actually use for our Lafayette celebration.
I said if anything happens to it, I'd be dead.
You would,
For nothing.
which is why we didn't ask you. We were glad you volunteered that. We will have a guided walking tour following Lafayette's original route starting at 11 o'clock. We will have a mural arts tour at 1:30 leaving from the Riverside Theater. I hope you know Bristol Borough has the most murals of any place in Bucks County. We're up to 13 murals now. We will have the Washington Crossing Fife and Drum marching along the 200 and 300 blocks of Ratcliffe, just to put you in the revolutionary spirit. We'll have a face painter for the children. We'll have a shuttle bus, compliments of the Bristol Borough School District, running every 15 minutes. And the Grundy Museum will be open for free tours. We're going to have a Ben Franklin impersonator from 12 to 2 in Bill Salerno's law office. And we will have a 60s style car cruise at 3 o'clock. And this is all possible thanks to your cooperation and our wonderful BCHF committee. So thank you very much. We appreciate your continued support.
Thanks for all you do. Okay, we have Art Younglove here for a proclamation on the 100th anniversary of the Bracken Cadets.
First, I want to say this
Is that all there is on that day?
Good to see you again, Art. So we have a proclamation here honoring the 100th celebration of the Bracken Cavaliers. It says in 1922, a Boy Scout troop added drums and military-style bugles to their troop for parades and called themselves the Cadets of Bristol. Whereas in 1924, the Cadets of Bristol approached the Robert Bracken American Legion Post 382 to sponsor their group. The Bracken Post agreed, and the birth of the Bracken Cadets Junior Drum and Bugle Corps was formed. I want to congratulate you on this and tell you that growing up as a kid, I was always familiar with the Bracken because of Bert Adamson. He was always practicing in his living room, playing his drums, and that was my first exposure to the Bracken, and I've known the Bracken, my entire life. So congratulations, and we wish you many more years. Thank you.
So first of all, with all these firemen here, I was thinking of how many different firehouses we've practiced in over the years. But anyway, so thank you for that. Yeah, it's been a long run. 100 years is incredible. As it's been mentioned, sadly to say, it'll be the last performance of the last remnants of the Corps as it exists. There are 3 active members that'll be playing a couple numbers at 9 o'clock thereafter on Saturday the 19th. And then that'll be the end of the Corps as we know them. Fortunately, they've had the bright idea, excuse me, of looking into what we can do to perpetuate music in the borough. So they formed a band, and they have, I think, 23 members now or more that are playing all the various instruments, not just bugles and drums, but trombones and saxophones, violins, whatever. So that's a good thing. There's an outcropping of their work moving forward as a musical organization. So I also want to thank the borough for your support in helping me get the mural up, Jim and his office doing that. And we'll have coffee and donuts at 9 a.m. There'll be some little speeches made, and we welcome everybody to join us that morning if it's not too early. And then we're going to move on to, after we enjoy Bristol Day, we're going to go on to, and we have pizza party at Caesar's on Friday night, welcoming whoever wants to come, former members, for a welcome home, Friday night at 7. Then Saturday night we go to Georgine's for dinner, and we have 75 people joining us for dinner that night. And then finally we'll say goodbye to everybody on Sunday at the Golden Eagle Diner. So I hope we'll see some of you Saturday morning, maybe for coffee and donuts, but we thank you all citizens of the borough. If it wasn't for the citizens, we wouldn't have paid the bills. And I particularly want to mention one person that I know was kind of secretive, and that was Senator Grundy. I know he always wanted to keep it quiet that he was supporting the Corps. He had his residence right across the street, God bless him, because of the drums and bugles playing on the other side probably drove him crazy. But I know the Corps received support from him over the years and made things possible, getting new uniforms or helping us with trips to national conventions and so on. The other thing, finally, the Corps, I think, well represented Bristol Borough over the years. They're state champions a number of times. They come in second in nationals, in American Legion National Convention competitions, and they're Eastern States champions. So all in all, thank you so much. Hope I could get part of that check. Thank you once again.
finally, we have Evan and Mary for the AOC. Amy's here? Okay. Want to go to the podium?
Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
So I think I'm going to start off talking about 21st century after school and summer programs. Again, my name is Evan Vanchi. I am the program director for the federal grants here in Bristol Borough School District. And I put a little recap of our summer 2024 together. So 21st Century Community Learning Centers over this summer serviced all schools in the borough, Snyder Girardi, St. Mark's School, and the Bristol High School. So at Bristol Borough, we service 1st through 12th grade during the summer. For St. Mark's, we service 5th through 8th, Monday through Thursday. And the times vary, but it's usually 7:30 to about 1 o'clock. And we go about June 24th to August 1st. We have one active grant as of right now. Over the last summer, on the right side, you can see all the fun activities that the campers got to go participate through. So I'll only go through a few. But we had a Mad Science. They're a company out in New Jersey, come into the school, put a science show on for all the students at the elementary school. We had weightlifting programs for the high school students who would like to come in, mostly football players, but it was open to everybody. We have first year for performing arts for both schools, Bristol High and the elementary school. We had athletics and performing arts for all students. And then we had a bunch of crafts and things like that. We do academic support, both math and ELA. They receive academic enrichment Monday through Thursday by certified teachers that work in the district. We work on curriculum that the students were struggling on during the previous year. So that's all on the right side. But the biggest part of this is that we are here to say thank you to the Bristol Borough Council. With the support of you guys providing us $10,000, we were able to add additional academic support and enrichment for these students. With that $10,000, we were able to provide each camper with a camp t-shirt with the performing arts themes, which was Wizard of Oz. We were able to go on field trips. You guys were able to provide us buses for 5 field trips to Tyler State Park, where kids learned how to paddleboard and kayak. They went on nature walks and hikes. They were also able to fish. But the biggest part of that field trip is learning about the river that you guys live next to in the borough. This how to be safe next to the river. That's the big thing. What are rip currents? How can we provide a safe but beautiful atmosphere for these children here in Bristol Borough? During those field trips, with the help of the council, we were able to provide them a fun lunch. And then also for the middle school camp, for the students that were able to participate our attendance requirement, they were able to go over to Bristol Lanes on the last day of camp and have a fun bowling trip. I'm happy to say that all those middle school campers that were there at the middle school, high school were eligible due to their attendance. They came almost every single day. Lastly, you guys helped us provide ice pops and popsicles on the last day of camp for the celebration. And I know it's a lot to condense into 2 slides, so I have a printout on each of your desks. So if you're interested in more details about what we did over the summer, that is there for you. And then any additional comments or concerns, my email is up on the slide. So I just want to thank you guys again for your ongoing support. We can't do it without you guys. It's so great to get these kids outside of the Bristol and see the other things that Bucks County has to offer. Thank you so much.
Can I add something? I also want to thank Danny Keegan and Gazarana Funeral Home for the pretzels and, the ice pops. Remember?
No, water ice.
The water ice,
Yeah.
yes. That was a nice day, and all the cops came out, police officers came out that day as well.
I'm gonna add something too. Evan, you're doing an amazing job, man.
Thank you.
Amazing job. So continue your work. You're making a difference in a lot of people's lives, man. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here we go. There we go.
Thank you, Council President, Mr. Dillon, for providing us this opportunity. I want to reinforce what Mr. Cousins just said about Evan Van Shea. Evan actually had the day off and came down here from Central Bucks to be here tonight to share with you what they accomplished during the summer camp. So I want to thank him for that. So I'm here, my name's Amy McIlvain, for those who don't know me. I'm here to talk about the Bristol Fall Classic. The Bristol Fall Classic is this Saturday, it's not this Saturday, it's Saturday, November 23rd, 2024. The Bristol Fall Classic is hosted by the Academic Oversight Committee, sometimes referred to as the AOC. We were the AOC before there was an AOC. The AOC is the organization that supports the Bristol Borough Learning Centers that Evan just spoke about, all the things that they do. The school district receives a grant. We fill in the gaps in that grant. So just to make it easy, they have the car, and sometimes we have to provide the gas to make that car move. I think that's a simple analogy. This is one of our key events to put gas in the tank. It's the Bristol Fall Classic. We're grateful to the Borough Council for allowing us to use the Bristol Borough Public Works building. It's a dinner and person of the year format. We also recognize teachers that are nominated by their peers for outstanding academic delivery. And I don't want to use the word performance, but for delivering excellent education. We also have a student of the year that is recommended by the superintendent in schools and the leadership up at the high school. They will be announced in the near future. The event is from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Catering is provided by the King George II Inn. The benefits of the Bristol Fall Classic are delivered directly into the classrooms. They benefit the public and parochial schools. And we are expanding our reach and working now with the early childhood centers in the community, the Radcliffe Learning Center, Children of God, Discovery, I forget the name of the place, but it's on the top of Mill Street, next to the Mill Street Pharmacy. Tickets are $75 per person. How do you buy a ticket? You can buy a ticket during normal business hours at the Bristol Borough Tax Office and Mignoni Jewelers. Online, you can go online to our website, which is bblearningcenters.com. You'll see the image on how to purchase a ticket, or you can also see an image on how to buy an ad for the ad book. Our person of the year is Robert Harvey. Some of you in this building may know him as the son of Andy Harvey. He is the commissioner of Bucks County. He is a 1989 Bristol High School graduate. And I might add, he was the student representative on my second tour of the Bristol Borough School, when I was a Bristol Borough School Board Director. So I'm not surprised where young Mr. Harvey has landed. The value and benefits of attending the Bristol Fall Classic are very clear and specific. If you're looking for a reason on an individual level on why to buy a ticket, you're doing something for the greater good. You're doing something beyond yourself. You're helping to reach out and support children. On a collective level, you're providing 21st century knowledge and skills to students in the classrooms of Bristol Borough in both the public and parochial schools. The AOC, our primary focus area of the grants that we support, are centered on STEM education, robotics, coding, makerspace, all of that all that activity that's so important for the 21st century workforce. We are helping to support and augment what they're doing in the school district today. I think that's it. Does anyone have any questions? I'd be happy to entertain them.
Does anyone have any questions?
Well, I invite all of the council members to purchase a ticket. You can buy one easily in this building. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Amy. Okay. I guess we're at a point where I'm gonna open up public participation. So anybody on this side of the room or out in the hallway that would like to speak on anything, come in, state your name and address, and go to the podium. Okay. Anybody on this side of the room would like to speak on anything, go to the podium, state your name and address.
Hello, my name is John Delancey. I'm from 1205 Radcliffe Street, Bristol, obviously. Just have a short speech here. I was one of the people that was upset about the signs. I don't want to make too much of an issue. Our town has more important business to handle. I did want to explain why I was upset about the signs, though. It's going to have a little unpleasant fact in it, but I plan to be very respectful in what I present here. Mayor, esteemed members of the council, fellow residents in attendance, again, my name is John Delancey. I'm a resident of the borough. I was born here in 1975. My family was active with the Historical Foundation and other groups from the late 1970s through the early 1990s. After nearly a 30-year hiatus, I returned living full-time to the borough 6 years ago after the unexpected death of my father. Ladies and gentlemen, I love Bristol Borough, and I returned here to raise 2 young children on my own because this town is like no other town in our little area of Lower Bucks. Bristol's urban-like layout and rich history make it an extraordinary place with extraordinary community. Since moving back to the borough, I've been largely a quiet observer as the town transforms and grows, a lot to your benefit, a lot because of your efforts around us. On October 1st, on my way to pick up my youngest son from Snyder Girardi, around 2 p.m., I noticed signs going up with the political message. I won't say it here. Upon arriving at the school, the parties responsible for the signs were putting up 2 of them across the street from the school's main entrance. The sign's bold nature and placement on public land led me to question the posters. I am a pretty reserved person. I was nervous as hell coming in here. Nervous as heck coming in here. But I did walk over to the individuals and speak to them about that, and I want to come back to that in 1 second. In the last week and a half, this issue's become a little bit hard to my heart, and I stopped around Bristol and I talked to people about the signs, and people were really upset, a lot of people, and I did get some criticisms too. So you know, it wasn't healthy for our town to go through this, but I want to pick up that story because you answered a lot of the questions that I had. I was going to give out handouts here, but I will keep these nice folders for myself and my boys.
John, you can handle it, whatever you want to do.
Listen, to return back to the visit, well, first off, I want to say, considering the current political climate, these signs were just a really, really bad idea, I think. The national politics is poison right now, and it's something that we have to avoid at all costs on a local level. And I know that on a local level, the parties work together for the betterment of people. And we should do our best to try to avoid what's going on up there because they're alien to us. You know, they don't know us from anything except for a visit, for some funding or something along those lines. I wanted to come back to that point when I was there asking questions. And this is a little bit unpleasant. My conversation with the leaders there was not hostile, but it was dismissive. The gentleman I believe to be responsible for these signs and for the commodification of our town's name to push a political agenda dismissed my concerns of what impression the signs would make. It's surprising too, considering he's a very intelligent individual that knows the power of words. I swear to everyone here, grave in Bristol Friends Cemetery and on my father's ashes in my house, this man, into the sign that still wasn't up, put his hand over Bristol Ford and said, "It's fluff. It doesn't mean anything. Other towns do it too." Now listen, to have someone that's a presumed leader of our community say this to someone like me, who this is my nicest clothes, I'm up to my eyes in debt, I owe everybody money, I have very little to be proud of except for my 2 sons and where I live. It hurt. It really, really hurt me. I know that the council's not responsible for this, and I understand that. But our town's name, it means something different to everyone. It's not just one thing. And you can't put our town's name above some candidates that, you know, we're a diverse town. It really bothered me. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get emotional. Bristol Day is here, and I want to say this. I would encourage those that are responsible for these signs, even though they are not you, I am well aware of that, to organize a new initiative named Bristol for Us All. And that way we can come together a little bit better. I don't know if we could pull it off before the election day, but maybe after, because I know everybody's on edge. Everybody's on edge because of these people that don't even know us. And that's all I wanted to say. I love this town. Thank you, Mr. Giuseppe, for giving me the chance to talk. I spoke with your son as well about this. You're an excellent mayor, sir, and I appreciate the council letting me take the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room want to speak on anything? Go to the podium and state your name and address.
Hi, my name's Chris Truelove. I live at 657 New Buckley Street here in the borough. I'm not here to talk about signs. I'm here to talk about the proposal for the fire station in Adams Hollow. I see all the firefighters here tonight. Let me tell you, I went to a smokehouse training center 20 years ago. I never want to do that again, so props to you guys, because that's what you do. But I am concerned because we've had flooding problems in the past on New Buckley Street, and a large building with the associated hardscape so close to the Delaware Canal. I just want to make sure that we're not going to get any excess storm runoff into the canal that would damage it and possibly create a situation for the neighborhood. And I know that there have been other places discussed perhaps for a fire station. If this is the best place for it, if we've had a heat map done of where all the calls are coming from, and it's the best place for it, I'm not opposed to it. I just want to make sure it goes in such a way that the neighborhood isn't affected adversely by it. And we do have wetlands by there and wildlife and old growth trees, and I know there are people who are upset about the gardens and the basketball courts too. So if it serves the best interests of the borough, I'm all for it. I just want to make sure it doesn't hit me where it hurts right now, my basement. So thank you very much.
Anybody else on this side of the room want to speak on anything?
Slowly getting there.
Take your time.
My name's Susan Watkins, and I live on 2289 Seabird Drive. I'm here to talk about the fire station and not just the gardens. The gardens are a small part of a very large open area in Bristol. Probably even larger, maybe not exactly, but probably larger. Lower, is that better? Okay. About the same size, if not bigger, than the wharf area and Lions Park. I hope that you guys on the council can examine this on a real cool perspective. No, not, oh, we need a firehouse, oh, we have to have gardens. Really balance it out. I'm hoping the gardens can stay. I'm hoping the basketball courts can stay. I'm concerned about, the lady, there she is back there. I'm concerned about flooding. I'm concerned about the canal and runoff of a large amount of, what is that called, surface?
Impervious surface.
Surfacing, going there when there is other places that are already covered in concrete. To take away all this open space, I personally think would be a mistake. There's a lot of peace, tranquility, a lot of recreational space. My husband and I are gardeners, although he's much more of a gardener than I am. And I see the kids walking home from school, and it's a quiet time for them. It's away from the hustle, it's away from bustle. It's just a nice, quiet place. Then there's fishing. How much disruption will there be with traffic? Not just from the equipment, because I know they have to have their equipment, that's not an issue. But you're going to have a hall there, I understand. Isn't there going to be a hall involved also so that there can be events held there? That was my understanding. That may be wrong, that was part of the plan. But if not, maybe not. But that's what I had heard. I think it's really probably somewhere in this borough that is industrial already. I know what is in my head is the area by the railroad station. I don't know if that's possible, but it's the most logical. It's certainly every bit as central as the Canal Park garden area. I hope, though, again, that you can look at it more carefully. You can make a little more caring, I think, about what that park area means, and that it can never be replaced. You can't replace those trees. You can't replace all that open space. I mean, if you look beyond the gardens, beyond the basketball courts, all open grass. It's just, you don't have to be doing anything. You can just be there, and that's going to be gone. So I'm hoping that maybe we can come to a resolution where the firemen get what they want, and that the community gets what they would like to have. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
My name is Jesse Walker, and I live at 320 Brook Street in Bristol. And I'm also concerned about the fireplace, or the proposed fire station in the area that they're doing. I guess I just like to, as everything that was just said, support those concerns. And I guess in general, there was a report done in 2021 about the fire program in town, and I guess they did bring up lots of centralizing the fire station. They also brought up challenges with going out to calls with a volunteer fire program. So I guess it'd be, something also to consider in addition to having, a state-of-the-art facility, is being able to be responsive to calls with a volunteer program. And it'd be interesting to hear larger things that are going on with the fire program in town, and to think about the larger planning of everything, and think of alternatives and how you can get firefighters out to calls when everyone's volunteer and working during the day. Like, it sounds like that was a challenge that was brought up. So I know other places have paid fire departments, so maybe that's something that is being considered, or to help man these fires and incidents. So I guess that was concerns I like to have. So hopefully, hopefully this can be a long-term planning process to have a great fire department in our town in terms of facilities and personnel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else on this side of the room would like to speak on anything? Okay, and I'll come back to firemen or guard, whoever wants to speak, but for now, I'm going to end public. Does anybody outside want to speak on anything? But if you guys want to respond to something, I'll give you all the opportunities you need. So before we get into anything, and Steve is here, who's been involved with this whole merger and trying to get these fire companies together, is going to speak this evening. The only thing I would like to say is to answer a couple quick questions. One, we don't own the old train station. Number one. If we did own it, there will be a restriction on that site that the borough cannot put a firehouse there. So that eliminates that spot. So let's clear the air with that. The other spot is the flat surface on Buckley Street. The reason the fire companies thought that was the wrong place, because if you have a fire during school that's letting out or entering, especially on a rainy day, the traffic is a nightmare. So they're going to have a hard time getting in and out of that location. So that eliminates that location. The other thing I would like to say is we sat here as a council and we said there will never not be a guarding, and the mayor has spoke on this numerous times, there will never not be a guarding, and there will never not be a basketball court. We said it will either be there, it may stay there, and a firehouse could be next to it. We don't know. So everybody that's putting signs up around town, everybody's saying call your council people, or making accusations for no reason, because we don't know what's going on yet until we get a final drawing. Is that the right location? Absolutely. And I think Steve will explain why. But to make these statements and to say we're taking away the basketball courts, we're taking away your garden. We had a meeting with the garden club who is Donna McCluskey, who's in charge of this garden. She's the president of this association. We met with her and her board, me and Mrs. Cullen, a week ago. We explained everything to her. She invited who she wanted to invite. And we told her the same thing we're telling you. We don't have a plan right now. We have an idea, we have a sketch, and we want to keep moving forward. But these fire companies have a lot of work to do, and so does this council. So it's very disheartening to see people on Facebook put up signs on our borough property saying, contact your council people, because they're taking away our community garden and our basketball courts, which is ridiculous to make that statement. And the other thing is, which I told Donna, if it gets moved, you will be part of the decision on where we place it, how it's placed, and what happens. And I said, from when I've been sitting here, it's 23 years, and everybody in this town knows, I have never did anything in this town that wasn't done 100% better than the way we found it. And if it's going to be a new garden, it'll be a spectacular garden, 50 times better than what you have now. If there's going to be basketball courts that get moved, it's going to be lit up so the kids can start using it. The police, we met with the chief out there the other day. We walked the entire path of this town and drove it. The police chief feels that basketball court is in the back where nobody can see what's going on. They would like to see it more up front. Even if you light it up, they can't say what's going on. So there's a lot of things that we need to do. So why don't you just give this council, knowing everything we have accomplished in this town over the last 23 years, an opportunity to prove to everybody what we want to do and give us a chance to show, look, kids are the first thing we care about. Build up our recreation program. But the fire safety and police protection of this town comes first beyond everything else. And if people can't accept that, I don't know what to tell them, because my decision is to trust these professionals and support them. If that's where it's got to go, that's where it's going, because they want to get into Harriman and they want to get out to all the other areas in seconds. So, and I know a couple of you guys responded about how fast fire's double and all. So I don't know, do you want to add anything, or you're stalling my thunder? That's frustrating.
I just want to say a couple things. So first and foremost, to address the concern about stormwater and runoff and everything else, there is nothing constructed in this day and age where there's not stormwater calculations done for runoff of sites, impervious surface. Nowadays, you got to do underwater storm management. Rainwater gets collected. The DEP's involved, the Bucks County Conservation District. There are so many things that go into building a structure of this size, but almost any structure nowadays in Bucks County, because of the way the laws have changed. So I can guarantee you, regardless of where this firehouse goes, there will never be any impact on the environment or the community, or God forbid flooding or anything of that nature, because of what we have to do. Not Bristol Borough rules, but rules by the state and the county to control such measures like that. The other thing I want to mention is, as the mayor, I have two major obligations. One is to our police department, and the other is to the fire safety of this town. When I got involved just a few years ago, this conversation started. It was one of those conversations that, as a Bristolian my whole life, people have talked about a controlled firehouse in one location, centralized, where everyone comes under one roof. But it's never actually had any legs. But now we're at the point where we are doing something for generations to come. This firehouse, once it's completed, will outlast our grandchildren's grandchildren. It'll be something that's here for generations to come. And it's not a matter of, people come to me all the time and they say, well, you have 4 locations now. Why can't you pick one, or why can't you pick 2? Because things have changed over the last 100 years. What worked 100 or 50 years ago does not work now. Equipment has changed. Response times have changed. The equipment we have as a community for rescues on the river and everything else, it needs to be housed under one roof where people are going to one location when it's time to respond. And I will stand by the fact that we all have our reasons on why it should be there or why it shouldn't be there. But God forbid that whistle gets pulled and your family member needs to be rescued by one of these men or women, you'll be glad they are in a location that gives them the fastest possible response time to your house. We can't thank them enough, and I've said this my whole life. Anybody who could, at the drop of the dime, give up what they're doing and leave their family and friends to go save somebody else, especially on a volunteer basis, will always have my utmost respect. So as the mayor, my goal is to create the best possible firehouse, to also bring energy and excitement back to fire safety, back to what they're doing, help them recruit, help them grow. You know, it's like business. You know, it's no secret, I'm in the real estate world. I cover a territory for 3 states with 27 offices, and my goal is to create excitement for the people that work for me. But we need to create excitement even in fire safety. They need to go somewhere where they enjoy being together and they create camaraderie. And the kids in the high school see what's going on and they want to be a part of it, which makes recruiting easier. And they're in one house where they're not recruiting against each other. I stand by the fact that we're going to make this happen. You know, whether it exactly goes where the garden is, we're still unsure until we finally have a firehouse design. We're trying to work through that phase right now. But we are going to build something and create something for these men and women to give them the best possible response time, the best possible tools and resources, and something, again, that's going to last for many, many generations to come that we can all be proud of in Bristol because we know it's going to be done right. So that's all I have to say. And I do want to turn it over to Steve. You know, we've been meeting numerous times. You know, there's a study done. They took the steps in determining what equipment they need, what resources they need, and we're designing this firehouse around what the borough needs as a community. But he could speak more to what the different houses have been saying about them coming together, fire safety in general. So, Steve, why don't you take it away?
You got a green light?
I do. Nelson's job.
Hey, Jay.
My name is Stephen Reeves. I'm the president of the Bristol Borough Fire Association, the chief of Bristol Consolidated Volunteer Fire Company. I'd like to thank Chief Slack for inviting me to this meeting, and I'd like to thank Borough Council for having me. I'd also like to thank all the firefighters that came to this meeting. They're standing here. They've probably been staying for about 40 minutes now at this point. I do appreciate them. I also have empathy for the residents that came up here and spoke on behalf of this project. I'm a Bristol Borough resident, have been my whole entire life. You know, I understand their feelings when things change. In 2019, the Pennsylvania Department of Commerce and Economic Development, DCED, began a project to assess the fire service for Bristol Borough. The report is an analysis of operation, organizational management, equipment, and facilities of the Bristol Borough Fire Companies. The DCED study was issued to borough officials in February 2021. It concluded that the borough and the fire company has several in-depth issues that needed to be addressed, which included daytime staffing, recruitment and retention, facilities, duplication of common fire protection services and equipment, and finances. The recommendation from the study included, but it's not limited to, the borough should facilitate the development of an association of all the fire companies, with the ultimate goal of operating as a single entity to provide fire protection in Bristol Borough. Bristol Borough should facilitate, within a reasonable timeline, the consolidation of operations to a single location. Bristol Borough should finance and construct a new contemporary fire station in a centralized area. Since the study was issued, the Bristol Borough Fire Companies developed the Bristol Borough Fire Association. The association consists of 3 directors from each of the 4 fire companies. You have a buy-in from all 4 fire companies. I know that's a question that's out there in social media. The association is tasked to coordinate the issue mentioned in the study, including the construction of a centralized fire station. Our goal is to provide superior service by having fire apparatus respond quickly with properly trained personnel and reduce our financial footprint by reducing fire apparatus facilities and maintaining a volunteer service. I'll hit on this in a little bit. However, though, there's a study out there to have 1 pumper with career staff, you need at least 17 firefighters. That's cost you $1.7 million per year to have that career staff. So again, we're trying to, us volunteers are taking that burden on. I made a presentation about that study to council and what we were doing on June 6, 2022. On February 12th of 2024, earlier this year, at the Borough Council meeting, I announced to the council and to the residents that all Bristol Borough fire companies are committed to moving into a single centralized firehouse. All Bristol Borough fire companies are committed to reorganizing and operating as one organization after moving into a single centralized firehouse. That is historical. It's historical that, again, that they've been tossed around since 1970, and they never could really get it done. And here we are. We're on the footstep of that. So I'm going to talk about some specific issues that were identified in the DCED study in reference to facilities that we have and other items. In regards to facilities, the 4 stations that serve Bristol Borough are between the ages of 163 and 46 years old, with an average age of 133. None of the current Bristol Borough fire stations are designed for modern-day firefighter operation with the necessary amenities. There are physical and structural issues with 3 of the facilities. Station 50, which is this building here, and Station 52, which is on Mifflin and Swain, have height and width restrictions in the engine rooms. Station 51 has structural cracks in 2 walls, including a load-bearing wall in the engine room. None of the stations have sleeping facilities to allow their departments to utilize duty crews during overnight hours. The usage of duty crews concept allows for volunteers to improve turnout times and total response times, as the initial response crews are located actually in the fire station. AJ says this quite often, stamped houses get out faster. And it's true. Duty crews are used for major weather events such as hurricanes, strong storms, and blizzards. So our volunteers don't have to travel from their homes to the fire station in that weather. This right here is a cot and a blanket for the American Red Cross. This is what I have to offer my firefighters right now. If they want to sleep at the firehouse, this is what they have to use. I imagine it's not comfortable. I can be honest with you, I've never used it. It looks way uncomfortable. 3 of the 4 fire stations have a day room, which is like a living room style facility. Station 50 does not. No fire stations have locker rooms nor showers. No fire station has a gym to encourage firefighter fitness. It's a major push. It's actually something I'm strongly, I believe strongly in. Station 50 and Station 51 do not have kitchens. The other 2 stations do have kitchens, but they're in their social halls. They're not available for firefighter use. Let's talk about coverage. An evaluation of the engine companies, which are the pumpers, within Bristol Borough concluded that the entirety of Bristol Borough cannot be sufficiently covered by their current locations of Engine 50 and Engine 52. That means the northeast area of Harriman is not within the ISO 1.5 model criteria. However, though, with us doing a Bristol Consolidated moving to America for the co-housing as we work through this project, actually fixes that issue for now. The DCED proposal that a centralized fire station should be built on Prospect Street at Washington Street or nearby to have sufficient engine company coverage throughout the whole borough. On average, the 4 Bristol Borough fire companies can operate 1 piece of fire apparatus with the optimal staffing level of 4 firefighters per call. Usually those apparatus are responding at the maximum response check of 4 minutes and at times later. It is believed that one centralized fire station with the appropriate amenities will improve apparatus staffing levels and response times. Let's move on to apparatus. Based upon the evaluation of compared Bucks County boroughs, the ISO coverage standard, and the staffing data that was provided, the optimal number of frontline fire apparatus for Bristol Borough is 2 engines, 1 ladder, 1 rescue company. None of your current fire stations can hold those apparatus right now. And let's talk about historical. Bristol Borough has never funded a fire station. Bristol Fire Company, number 1, has been in existence since 1857. in those past, I believe it's 160 some odd years, right, that Bristol Borough has never funded a fire station for this community. And that's not a shot at you guys or anything like that. It's over, 150 plus years. So I can talk about the needs assessment, kind of like the process that we used, if you'd like me to. I can also talk about the locations. I've also prepared to talk about how we respond to fires, right, which can be very, very important. I can talk about our community outreach to the youth. I know that's been also a hot topic out there in social media. So from here, I'll stop, and if I have any questions or anything like that, I can move on to the next certain items here.
Do you have kids at the high school that are training right now to be firemen?
We do, yes. So thank you for that, right? So community engagement with the youth. This past week was Fire Prevention Week. The fire company spent 3 days speaking to school-age children with several of the schools here in the borough. The BBFA has developed a relationship with the Academic Oversight Committee, which they've been great. They've been great to work with. There's a synergy that when the two groups work together. We've engaged the students at the high school through assemblies and other events. Again, I couldn't thank them enough. The BBFA has held a cadet program this past summer where we introduced teens to the fire companies, the services that we provide, and the equipment. 2 of the 4 fire companies had a junior program. Young adults from 14 to 17 years of age can join the fire company. We provide them proper protective equipment, and we train them up. At the age of 17, we send those junior firefighters to basic firefighting school in Croydon. We have right now 4 that they're actually all 17. Right? Yes, all 17. All 4 of them are 17. And at the end of this, they're there right now. Yes. At the end of this, they receive the certification. This training and this certification can land them as actually a career job as a firefighter. We're teaching these young kids, life skills, leadership, and confidence. We actually had these teenagers, these young adults, actually rappelling at the 3rd floor of the training center several weeks ago. So we teach them, a lot of things outside of just firefighting also.
Steve, I think it would be nice to bring those boys up here and recognize them for, go ahead, I'm sorry.
2 girls, 2 boys.
Great, great.
And that was my plan. So they will be done hopefully at the end of November, and I'd like to have them here in December.
That'd be great.
So Steve, before we could sit here all night and discuss why, I think council recognized the need for a firehouse.
Correct.
We talked about this 5-6 years ago when I said it's a generational thing where your grandfather and your father and your children just keep filtering down. And I see families here like Russells and DeAngelis, and people that went through all these over the years. And it's not there anymore. It's like we give you so much credit for doing what you're doing. But to respond and to keep this together, I think is very important for the town. The other thing is, people say, well, why do you need a bunk room to sleep in? Well, the other thing is, how many times you guys stay at the station when we have storms, snowstorms, things going on? I don't think anybody realizes, so if there is a major incident in the middle of the night, you can't respond from home because it's snowing or getting a ton of snow. You're at the firehouse ready to respond, which, again, you're leaving your family at home and you're doing what you have to do to protect the town. And lastly, I don't think, and we talked about this, we're trying to also get the Bucks County Rescue Squad to go into this building. And what a plus that would be for this borough to have a squad right in town. So when we don't have to drive from Bristol Township to get here, our response time will be unbelievable. So there's so many things that are important to keep this going. And I just think that, like the mayor says, we're committed. And we're not going to back down from this. If it has to go there, that's where it's going.
If I may, touch up actually, again, a sentence in here speaking about EMS. This was under my response section. I have a whole thing about it. I'm not going to belabor the point, but if you have a loved one that just had a cardiac episode and is no longer breathing, and with this scenario, I should note that your EMS service in Bucks County is taxed. You might actually be waiting for an ambulance coming from Ben Salmon Falls Township. Bristol Fire Company runs an excellent QRS program, and they respond also when there's an ambulance coming from out of town. And I'd ask this room, like, how long are you willing to wait, right? How long are you willing to wait for the fire truck to show up or an ambulance to show up, right? There needs to be some kind of self-reflection, within the community of what's important. Yeah.
Everybody thinks it's just a fire. I mean, it's an accident. It's somebody trapped in a car. It's somebody drowning on the river. There's so much involved that when you put it all together and you understand what's going on, I think that everybody will start realizing that this is what has to get done.
If I could stress for a minute, and I think it might get lost a little bit because you know this like the back of your hand, and you guys all know about fire service more than most. I think what could get lost over this is where we are from where we've been. And what I mean by that, I know you mentioned it, but I think that requires stressing, and that is the gargantuan task that you and a few other firefighters, AJ and others, undertook to get this room to look like it does right now. Whereas as recently as 2 or 3 years ago, not that everyone was at their throats, but it was really hard to get us to agree that we needed one fire company. And, I think that's important to note in this whole thing. And I think it's also important to note that I think every member of this council is committed that if the firehouse goes there, that there will be probably a bigger and better garden. And that is that's no lip service. That's a real thing. But the consolidation of this whole thing is where this all started. And, I think it's all in an effort to improve our firefighting services. So I just want to commend you guys for the work.
So before we end, because I don't know if you have anything else.
The only thing I was going to say, just to add on to that, is that we took a lot of things into consideration in the location where the basketball courts are. That checks off many of our boxes, if not all of those boxes, for what we need for our operation in the future.
Any firemen, anybody want to speak? Anybody from
Use
the...
of members.
Pardon me?
Use of members, Mr. Mayor.
We got it. Anybody from the garden, anybody want to say anything else? Mayor?
The only thing I want to do is, reiterate what Greg said. Is the garden and the basketball courts, they're assets to this community. But they're going to be continued assets. They just might be in a different location. They might be shifted over. This council and myself are committed to providing the best possible resources to the children and to the members of the garden club. But we also owe the best possible resources to these men and women. Over the years, we've done a Borough Works building, we've done police stations, we've done a municipal building. Now we owe it to the people of fire safety, our firemen and women that are out there on the streets every day. We owe it to them to now provide them with the best possible facility, just like we did at every other aspect of this borough. So I'll just...
Okay, so I guess that ends public participation. Kurt and Amanda are here if anybody wants to listen to some of the recreation plans that we have in place that we're looking to start doing for the children. Kurt, why don't you and Amanda give us an update on recreation?
All right, so as Council President DiGiuseppe had said a couple weeks ago, I guess we did a tour of the borough's recreational and park facilities, and we looked at each of these properties and discussed opportunities to, enhance them, replace some of the aged infrastructure that exists. So I'll just give kind of a high-level overview of where things stand. Out of the gate here, things are still in planning, so we don't have any plans finalized at this time. All right. So in no particular order, I'll just run through some of the different properties we visited. The Otter Street Ball Fields was one of the properties we toured. We had several members of council, council president, the mayor, police chief, public works. We're looking at possibly formalizing the parking area that is along Otter Street that's bound between Old Route 13 and Otter Street across from the ball fields. That could include pavement, striped parking spaces, and parking lot lighting. Also on the field side, we were looking at adding a structure that would accommodate dry concessions and storage for the athletic sports that are played there. Also looking at a full replacement of that playground that's there, possibly enlarging it. And we're also exploring the opportunity to put in ball field lighting that would basically illuminate that entire field or fields, as well as separate lighting that would illuminate the playground area. So all of this, again, is in the planning phase. We also looked at the Jefferson Fields. We are considering replacing certain structures there, namely the restroom facilities and storage facilities that exist there, and also the press box that's next to the one baseball field. Additionally, looking at upgrading facilities like dugouts and bleachers. We also toured numerous playgrounds throughout the borough. We spoke about the Otter Street playground already, but also the Spruce Street playground, the Trenton Avenue playground, and the Lincoln Avenue playground. It's along, I guess, Pond Street near Wilson. We also toured the Spurline Trail. We toured its entire length, and we are looking at a complete resurfacing of that trail. There's a lot of deterioration from when that trail was originally constructed. That would also require some tree removal because we have a lot of matured trees that have tree roots causing the trail to heave. Other trail enhancements like better signage at the roadway crossings, ADA upgrades to make it ADA compliant, and upgrading the pocket parking that exists along the trail. We also viewed the Grundy Commons property. That's a property that currently is just open space, and possibly adding certain recreational or passive recreational facilities at that location. And then, as we talked about, I guess the firehouse sort of is integral to some of these other areas while we go through the planning phase. So that's just kind of like a real high level, sort of where we're at now, but we're seeking to advance some of these projects and initiatives. We have some items for consideration at tonight's council meeting for performing some survey work and other preliminary duties associated with them.
So just so everybody knows, myself, Councilman Cousin, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Cullen, and Mr. Pezza met we did a tour and we visited different sites and stuff like that. Then we went back, police chief drove with a couple of us in the SUV, and we went around looking at the path and different areas. A lot of this stuff we're trying to get done as fast as possible. There are lead times, like we met with, was that M&W?
Yes.
M&W, they make structures that they could come in and just set a brand new press box in. It's plumbing, everything's in it. We met with M&W to look at the restrooms at the ball fields. Just take that. First of all, they're so old that renovating them just going to cost too much. So it's easier just to drop a structure in with restrooms, storage rooms, overhead garage doors to put equipment in. Same thing at Otter Street. So we want you to know that this isn't something we're talking about. This is something that this entire council and mayor is committed to getting done as soon as possible. As fast as they can move, we're going to move to get this stuff done. So there are things that we could see happening right away. Musco Lighting came out for lights on the fields, to start looking at lighting up the fields, lighting up a new basketball court if it gets moved, or wherever we're gonna put it. So there's a lot of good things in the making, just like I said with the firehouse. Just give us an opportunity to put a plan together, and I'll guarantee everybody's happy when we're done. So does anybody add anything, or?
I'd just like to add the fact that when we toured these structures and these facilities, that, you know, part of the upgrade part is about safety, and not just the safety of, God forbid, a child being hurt on the playground, but safety from where they're located, having them lit up, removing, you know, bushes or some things that are blocking the view to some of our playgrounds so they're more easily visible by our police force as they're driving around town, or their parents that are, you know, sitting there watching the kids on the structures. The path, for example, some of our exit and on ramps to the path from the street go out into the middle of a three-way intersection. We're looking to possibly move them down a little bit more with an ADA ramp, so they're actually at a stop sign for when people need to cross onto the path. They're not crossing in the middle of an intersection. So it's more than just an upgrade. It's, you know, making things safer and more compliant to today's day and age. And again, just like everything else, we need to make sure that what we do is going to last for a long time. And, you know, the baseball fields, for example, maybe it's not just utilized for baseball fields. It's used for multi-sports. It might be used for soccer or flag football or something along those lines. Things that are getting additional momentum in addition to baseball. So everything's being taken into consideration, but it's not as simple as, you know, painting a dugout or dropping a new structure in place. There's a lot of planning that goes into this, but again, as the council president said, and I know I speak for this council, we're committed to making it happen as soon as possible for the benefit of the children in the town. That's all right.
There's, like I said, a lot going on, and I think everybody's gonna be happy when we're done. I think we've been ahead of the curve on a lot of things in town, and we know we're looking at, like Brian, this flag football program has exploded. How many kids we have? Greg? 150 playing flag football. It's also becoming a PIAA sport.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, but to your point, to both of your points, when we talk about the baseball fields, for instance, we've been playing flag football in 100-degree weather, you know, and if we had the opportunity to share some fields during certain seasons, that would make a big difference. So just an example of what we're talking.
So we're looking at increasing not only the activities, but, you know, volleyball right now is a major sport that's taken, and everybody loves to play it. Anybody can play it.
Pickleball, you can both break your ankle.
Yeah. So,
Some of us know that.
so, I mean, there are things. We got a great recreation board, and I said tonight that we're going to meet with them in November. We're going to meet with Stacy from the Little League, president of Little League. We're going to put a package together over the next, you know, hopefully year that we accomplish this, and everything's going to be going in the right direction. So, anybody have any questions for Kurt?
Just thinking.
Where's your head, buddy?
All right. Sounds good.
He goes, all right. All right. Chief, you have anything? Nothing? You guys have anything else? Mayor?
I just have a couple of quick announcements. First of all, as previously mentioned, last week we had Fire Convention Week. Firehouses were at Snyder Girardi. I saw tons of pictures of the kids outside looking at the trucks. My sister's a teacher there. I heard from other teachers about what a great day it was for the children. So I just want to thank, you know, the firemen and women that were in attendance for the kids. There's nothing better than community engagement, and they do it, you know, just as good as anyone else. So I want to thank you for all you did at Snyder Girardi last week. I want to quickly mention that, you know, those of you that still aren't signed up for our Nixle program where you get the Borough alerts, you should sign up. You text the word Bristol Borough, B-O-R-O, all one word, to 888-777 for alerts. This recently came into play. It comes into play all the time when we have storms and flooding and notifications. But recently we had to close down a section of Ratcliffe Street right before school starts, and the Nixle alerts were going out for a police incident. And therefore, those of you that are signed up for these alerts, you're just more aware. You don't have to take to social media or text everyone. You'll know exactly what's going on. So if you haven't signed up for our Nixle alerts, please text the word Bristol Borough, all one word, to 888-777. I want to quickly also talk about the fact that we met with Gilmore and Associates out on the avenues and on Prospect Street to look at what we've temporarily done to control the truck traffic for those residents. It seems to be working. I mean, I haven't heard any complaints recently, Chief, have you?
No, we've been doing a lot better with the truck.
So we've been doing a lot better with the truck traffic. We know that there's better signage for the business that it's been passing, but we've been doing a lot better with some of the simple improvements we made, but we're looking to see how we can make them more permanent and not affect the borough crew and have to do plowing and things of that nature. So I just want to let the residents know that we were out there just a week or so ago to look at how we can do some permanent improvements possibly on those intersections. I also want to just quickly say that we hired 2 new part-timers, Mohammed El Saeed and Tyler Giberson, that are a part of our Bristol Borough Police Force, and I'm going to welcome them to the borough. It's already been mentioned about the AOC, but I'll quickly remind that, one of Bristol's own, Robert Harvey's being honored November 23rd from 6 to 9 p.m. Tickets are $75 a piece, and I want to emphasize that anybody can go to these events. These aren't invite only. People say to me all the time, well, I didn't know about that, or I didn't get an invite. Well, a lot of us don't get invited. We just unfortunately hear about it or know about it. Anybody from the public can attend these events for $75, and this is one of the better ones that is happening. The only other thing I have is that Tina Davis is having a Veterans Dinner on Thursday, October 24th at Heritage Hall from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You must contact her office to RSVP. And lastly, Bristol Day this Saturday. I'll reemphasize that. Mary ran off all the key events, but it is from 10 to 4 with the car show being at Snyder Girardi. I travel around 3 states, for work. I attend a lot of different community events because we're involved in a lot of different community booths and things of that nature. We, hands down, have one of the best, if not the best, community event that I've attended. So for those of you that haven't been here, you need to show up Saturday between 10 and 4. Thank you.
Thank you. And don't forget Mark's car show, right? You gotta give Mark a plug, Mayor. He works hard at it. Okay, Lorraine?
I just have one request. I want to know, Mr. Dillon, can you get a hold of somebody from the Mill Run Project and ask them about a timeline? Not that that's going to mean anything, but, I've been getting a lot of questions about it, and I want to be able to answer the questions. So, thank you.
Greg?
Just a few things. First, I just wanted to, again, honor the Bracken cadets. My Uncle Joe, who is no longer with us, that was one of his favorite pastimes as well. He was a member of the Bracken cadets, Joe Cannellini. So it just reminded me of him. It was nice to see that. I want to talk a little bit. I do have a question about an update on the trains, Mr. Dillon. I know Merle oftentimes has some input on that, but do we have any latest on the noise that's been going on at night on the train yards along Trenton Avenue?
Other than that latest incident, as I understand, had to do with Randall Avenue Bridge work that was being done. And that's why they were using the yard up by Trenton Avenue.
And we were hoping that that's going to dissipate soon, right?
Hopefully, and we're moving ahead as rapidly as possible on getting out the bid for the sound wall. We're waiting for the agreement from HUD for council to sign off on. But I think that's where we're at.
Okay, thank you. I think this is a question for Amanda. Sometimes things get lost in the shuffle. It's been a couple months since we talked about the drainage under Green Lane and the study that we did. Where are we on that? I know the study and that there were a lot of issues. Where are we beyond that?
Right, so last, I'd probably given you an update. We had a report we had issued with our findings, which essentially was, the ultimate long-term solution would be to replace that pipe that runs along under Green Lane from the underpass down to the river. Again, I think I saw the outfall the other day in the river, and it continually just flushes water out. There's always active water flowing in that pipe. In the short term, The borough has issued a letter to State Representative Tina Davis and Senator Sanasiero to advise them of the report and request that there be some assistance and support provided to help with PennDOT in effort to, one, that long-term solution, and two, if there was some short-term interim solution that we could do in order to install some sort of floodgate system, meaning it would still be some sort of manual gate that would go down. This isn't a flood wall, if you're following.
So to reiterate, it's really all PennDOT in the sense of being able to move forward, whatever that plan might be.
So anything that were to be implemented, even if the borough were to take it on, still needs PennDOT approval because it is a state road. So I think we need to kind of bring our forces together with our elected officials and, get some assistance on that front.
Okay, so Mr. Dillon, maybe we can just poke them. I know Tina and Steve are always great and always very responsive.
Yeah.
So could we possibly poke them on that just to kind of see if we can get that conversation continued?
And we can continue that conversation with PennDOT directly as well.
Okay, great, thank you. Also, just a question someone may or may not know. I know the mayor's had some conversations with them. Mr. Dillon, maybe you have as well. The paint job on Simon & Schuster, when you turn the corner onto Rackham Street, on the face of it, looks great. I'm really happy with the way that looks. Do we know if there's any plan to paint the rest of it on the face of Rackham Street? It's a private property. I'm not saying that there's anything we could do. It's pure curiosity because I think it was a big upgrade with the paint job that they did on that side face.
I agree, it's a big improvement on the one side. We haven't heard anything about the front along Ratcliffe, but we'll reach out.
Okay, just a question, I appreciate that. And then I just, for a lot of random reasons, I know there are people that say you should not thank people for just doing their job, but I wanted to thank the chief I just don't know if many of us know how good of a job he's doing. I think if you've had any interaction with him, you know it. But I've had just a bunch of random reasons why the chief and I have had to communicate, whether it be, Mill Street related or other things. So he is always handling his job very professionally, and he's got the borough's interest in mind, and I really appreciate that. I know you don't need thanks for doing your job, but I want to thank you and all the police officers for the work that you guys have been doing. It's been impressive, and I appreciate that. I did want to let everybody know that the tree lighting is again happening this year. It will be the Friday after Thanksgiving, and plans are in the works. We've got a small committee that's going to be getting together soon. The big stuff is locked in with entertainment. I'll be making more announcements about that come November, but I did just want to put that on people's radar that we're going to keep the momentum going with that tree lighting. It's been a fun event. I also wanted to congratulate the AOC for the selection of Bob Harvey as well. I think it's a great selection. Bob being a commissioner is one of the more mild-mannered, mellow politicians that you might meet, and doesn't, I don't think, seek that praise, and I think he really deserves it. He's got a very difficult job to do. The next couple of weeks are going to be very, very grinding on him, I'm sure. And with that, I wanted to address briefly the elephant in the room when I say the next couple of weeks, because as a commissioner, he also oversees the voting in Bucks County, which could be relatively contentious. I first want to reiterate everything that the council president said and thank him for his words about the signs in town. I agree with every single word he said. I want to make it clear that I support this council, and I certainly support this council president, because I think everyone here does an absolutely fantastic job. That does not mean that we are always going to be in coordination with each other. And certainly when it comes to the issue of the signs around town, it set off a bit of it touched a nerve on some people, and I can understand that. I appreciate the words. I honestly forget the gentleman's name. I appreciate the way in which he approached his concerns about the sign. And what I can say is that the First Amendment is a beautiful thing. And that is because he exercised his First Amendment right to come up here and say what he thinks, and I know some people agree with it. I also know that there is a large number of people who do not. And in that circumstance, I would just like to say, I have neighbors that I love dearly, I have family friends that I love dearly, who do not agree with me on politics, and I do not agree with that. I hope we keep sight of that, But we also should understand that we are 3 weeks away from one of the most contentious presidential elections in American history. This climate was not created by signs, this climate exists. And if we're not in tune with that, I just have a different fundamental view of the world. I was a social studies teacher, I was a history teacher. And I've never come from the ilk of where you don't talk about politics and religion at the dinner table. It's just a different perspective. I understand the concerns of people. I respect them. I never lose friends over politics. That's not the way I operate. And we're just going to disagree on this. So I appreciate everyone listening. I appreciate this town. We love this town as well. I truly believe that he and everyone that disagrees with the signs also loves this town. And let's remember that over the next couple weeks. Thank you.
Brian.
At the end of this week, we'll have recreation signups coming out, so just be on the lookout for it. That's it.
Maria.
I have a few things. First, I want to send out my condolences to Cheryl Morris's family. She passed away over the weekend. She was suffering from cancer for many years, so that fight ended for her. So again, my condolences to the Morris family. And I want to remind everyone that October, I think a woman's place came last month and stated that they were going to be putting a purple ribbon all along Mill Street because October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So, I just kind of want to remind everyone, and if you or you know of anyone that is in need of help, to reach out to a woman's place. Their 24-hour hotline number is 1-800-220-8116. And with that being said, I also want to remind everyone that our children are precious, and it is how we behave and what we accept is what we teach our children. So, keep in mind that violence should not be tolerated by any means, at any time, at any place. And when we allow things to happen, that is what our children see. And it is our job to teach our children that that behavior is not acceptable. So that's all I wanted to say about that. And the train station. The train station is being worked on. I know it looks, it's an eyesore, but it is being worked on. I reached out to Amtrak to get their guys to come out and start with their maintenance on it. And also I'm working with SEPTA to also do some maintenance. So, just give us a little bit of time to get that going. But it is in the works. So that's all I have.
Louis?
Also, I want to remind everyone, we do have a lot of people come into town for Bristol Day. In preparation for this, just be nice. I know the borough sends out the street cleaner, packet turn cleans up, but let's do like the old days where you just got the broom out in front of your house and you sweep up your sidewalks and blow the leaves away. And it just make it look, because there's a lot of strangers that come into town, let's put our best foot forward. That's all I have. Thank you.
Right.
Best foot forward, that's pretty good. Can I have that bunk? If you're not using that bunk, I would love to take that home, and sometimes I put my foot in my mouth. Sometimes I maybe sleep on it. So that's all I gotta say. I could definitely use that bunk sometimes. I'm just being honest with you. Love you, baby. No, I mean, just to everything that's said tonight, people that presented and words that were said. For me, it's a character thing. So going back to just the words that were spoken by many people tonight in terms of the direction of the town and where we see things going, and we all have our own ideas about what we want that to look like. But my thought is that the town and us included, we all want the best for this town. It's gonna look one way, gonna look that way, but collectively we all want the same thing. And we're not always going to agree on what that looks like, but in terms of character, just know that the people that are sitting here, we have the best interest of this town at heart. And whether it's the firehouse, the basketball court, the garden, we want the best for the town. And we're not here to slight anybody. We're not here to undermine anybody. We're not doing that. What we're doing is we're standing on what we want best for the town. So in terms of the character of the town and what Mr. Q just said here in terms of just putting our best foot forward and just being who we are, we have to remain who we are. And when Councilman Pezza just said what he said, this country, we are at heads. We are. But this town doesn't have to be. We can be us and we can be insulated. We just have to support each other. And it's gonna look what it's gonna look like, but maintaining the character of ourselves and what we stand for and what we represent, where we send our kids to school, we send our kids to middle school, we send our kids to high school, the way we walk around town, how we greet each other. We have to maintain ourselves. We have to. And that's not always going to look the same way over here or over there. But if we can stand as Bristolians to say, okay, at the end of the day, I'm still your neighbor. Whether we agree or we don't agree, at the end of the day, I am still your neighbor. Why? Because we are in this together. So maintaining the character of who we are and what this town is paramount, especially now. It is. So I just want to let everybody know who's ever watching. I don't know if you're watching this late, it's almost 9 o'clock. But what I'm going to say is this. Everybody that's sitting here, somebody out there penciled our name in or filled in the bubble. You entrust us. That means we are entrusted. And I take that personally, that we are entrusted to make sure that we have the best interest of this town at heart. And please do not forget that. It's the truth. So I'm done.
Thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.
The only thing I have is, I don't want to forget that we met at the Burger King on Old Route 13 with the engineers, Tina Davis, myself, the manager, PennDOT engineers. We looked at the delineals going down 13. The chief was there. That Tina had them, her and Steve had them put up immediately because of the accidents. So they're going to try to do something more permanent, trying to put these delineals in because they want to bring one even further down 13 to the crosswalk because cars are just turning in. So for a temporary fix, it's something they're trying to do, but I just want to thank our state rep for immediately responding to something and always being out there. We're very fortunate to have her, Steve, and Bob, and our Congressman Fitzpatrick, who we can pick up the phone and they answer the phone and say, what do you need? So that's the great part of my job, being able to call them and they never fail to answer. So that's a plus. On item number 3, I'm asking council to approve the proposal of Lynn Bush for the planning service. Once this is done, I said I would appoint a committee. This is to look at all our zoning and planning. There's things that were done, 100 years ago that need to really be updated. And she was the planning person for the county. So she knows what she's doing. We don't have to teach anybody what to do. And with council's input and things we want to see change, she should be able to really help us move that in the right direction. So I'm asking council to support that. And I'm also, Amanda, you want to speak on 6, the trail? I'm asking council to approve this with a cost that we're putting in.
Correct, yeah, so as a reminder, that line item on the agenda tonight is for some additional parking on Maple Beach Road and a trail connection from the newly completed Maple Beach Bridge next to the Public Works Building, which will wrap around to the waterfront parking lot. And so bids were received and came in a little over the grant funding that was awarded for the project. And there's a grant amount for this project in the amount of $250,000. Bids came in at $286,866. So it's still a maybe small amount for the borough to put out in order to get this project completed. With most of it being grant funded.
I'm asking council to authorize this because it's a $300,000 program that's costing us under $100,000.
Yeah.
Or less. So, I mean, it's a great trail. We're going to continue this, and it'd be foolish to turn this money down. We have a right to reject or accept. I think we should accept this proposal.
Mr. President, do we have to put the the dollar amount in this?
I think it's not to exceed, 90? Jeff?
You're only awarding the bid tonight.
Okay.
So what you'll be doing later is you'll be approving the additional expenditure beyond the grant amount at a later meeting.
Okay. So I don't have to.
I'd reference the engineer's letter of October 11th where he says that the low bidder is GMB Construction in the amount of $286,000. That's what you're awarding.
Okay.
So any questions about that? Where the trail, do you want to explain where it goes?
Right, so this would be from the Maple Beach Bridge next to the Public Works Building and would wrap around to the parking lot to connect to that sidewalk path there, and would also include 10 parking spaces on Maple Beach Road. Twofold. One is for trail goers if they're interested in starting at that location. You can take the D&L Trail, you can take the East Coast Greenway. And 2, the festivals, I think everyone has seen the amount of visitors that come and frequent the borough for the festivals, so that parking lot often fills up. So this is a bit of some overflow parking if needed as well. And yeah, it's GNB Construction is the low bidder.
Okay, anything, Jim? Jeff? Okay, so we can get to our regular public meeting to vote on. So I'm going to go back to the public. Anybody want to speak on this side of the room? Anybody want to speak on this side of the room? That ends public participation. So number 2 on the agenda.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept council meeting minutes for September 9th, 2024, to accept the treasurer's report for August 2024, to accept the police reports for September 2024, to accept the fire reports for September 2024, to accept the inspection reports for September 2024, to accept the Public Works reports for September 2024, to accept the harbor report for September 2024, to accept the engineer's report for September 2024.
Do I have a second? Second by Ms. Figueroa. Questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Number 3.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the proposal from Lynn Bush for the planning services to update the Bristol Borough zoning ordinance and subdivision and land development ordinance.
Second by Ms. Cullen. Questions or comments?
I just would like to say I met with Ms. Bush with Mr. Dillon a couple weeks back, and she's a very impressive person. I think she very much gets what we're trying to accomplish, so excited to have her along.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Mr. President, I'd like to authorize the hiring of 2 part-time police officers, Mohammed Al-Sayed and Tyler Giverson.
Second by Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 5.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to accept the retirement letter from John Miller dated October 1st, 2024.
I have a second. Second by Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments? The only comment I would like to make, we still have another full-time inspector and a part-time inspector. We don't know yet if we need to replace John. We'll be meeting with our inspection department to see where we're going with this. He's not retiring. He gave us a 6-month notice, so we're not under the gun tomorrow to hire somebody, but we will evaluate this inspection department and discuss it in the next month or so. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 6.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to consider awarding the lowest qualified bid to J&B Construction of $866 for the Maple Beach Trail parking improvements.
I have a second. Second by Mr. Cousin. It's your award, right, buddy?
Thank you, buddy. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Council.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 7.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to authorize Gilmore and Associates to survey the following recreational sites: Jefferson Avenue Fields, Otter Street Playground, Spruce Street Playground, Trenton Avenue Playground, Pine and Wilson Playground, Grundy Commons Park.
I have a second. Second by Mr. Catroci. Questions or comments?
One thing on that. There's a lot of movement with recreation in town, and I'm really excited. I know I can speak for many of us sitting here, but very excited for this movement in this area to give the kids what they deserve and what we need in this town. So I'm really excited to make that motion.
Thank you. Other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I got a motion to adjourn. Motion by Lee, second by Maria. All in favor?
Aye.